1 minute. Okay, fine. So I've been also been in multiple occasions. I've been a speaker. I've been also part of UiPath community from last couple of years, I can say. Okay, so today our major agenda is to just learn something that was basically related to database and how we are going to interact with the like UiPath and all. So till now, I think you have seen what is basically UiPath, what are the different tools or like platforms you have inside the UiPath and all, what are the different components you have. So as a developer, you will be working mostly 90% on the UiPath Studio itself. And basically, you should be having a very good knowledge on the basics till now, I can say. So most probably like last couple of sessions or like last 3-4 sessions been concentrated on the topics that was related to Excel, PDF and all these things, right? But before to that, you might be going through some couple of sessions that was related to variables and also arguments, how to do some string operations. And also you have seen something that was related to data scraping, screen scraping, recordings, and also you have seen something on the selectors, right? So all these things will be laying as a foundation for these things what we are going to learn now. Okay, so whatever we are learning in terms of Excel automation, PDF automation, database automation, email automation, whatever the type of application you are trying to interact, you should be having a basic knowledge of those things. Okay, so today we will be concentrating on a basic overview, how to connect with the database from the UiPath, how to export the data. It means that getting some data from the database and how to write some data into the database from an Excel data and all. Okay, and also we'll try to see some basic commands that was related to insert, update, delete, all these things, how to disconnect from a particular database. So what are the best practices we can try to go with? All these things we can try to understand. Okay, so basically let's say that when you're trying to connect with a particular database, UiPath provides us in terms of activities under the database package, all the activities that was related to the particular actions we can perform on the particular database, right? So let's say that I want to perform some action on an Excel. So basically manually, I can try to create an Excel. I can write something, I can read something, I can insert some values inside it, right? So that sort of things can be seen in inside your UiPath in terms of uh, read workbook, okay, read range, write range, append range, insert cell, write cell, right? In the similar way, when you're trying to connect with, when you're trying to interact with the database, so basically, first of all, we need to understand how to connect with the particular database. So connect will help you to connect with the particular database. So disconnect will help you to disconnect with the particular database. So execute query is something like you can execute a queries in terms of select commands. Execute non-query, we can try to insert, update, delete commands can be utilized in this execute non-queries and all. So basically insert is something like you can try to insert the data from an Excel, nothing but a data table, into a database table directly. Okay, so bulk insert is something like you have a huge set of data. Let's say you have like 10,000 rows of data. So you want to insert that particular huge set of data into some database. So we can try to use like bulk insert. So bulk update, this was the two new features I can say which was recently introduced. So we'll try to talk about these things practically. Okay. So let's try to jump into the tool itself directly. So uh, today we are trying to see something that was related to the SQL database, SQL database. Okay, so we can connect with Oracle database, we can connect with n number of databases. Basically today we are trying to just learn something that was related to the data, the SQL database. Okay, we need to install some packages. Yes, we need to install. We'll see how to go with those things. Okay, and do it in, okay, so types of tables and databases supported by UiPath. So basically if it was in terms of rows and tables, that will be supported in terms of the database as well as data tables too. Okay, so we'll try to understand basically from the scratch how do you create some database table, how to do that. So in such a way you can try to go with that. So basically I was into some SQL database. So I want to just create a small table here. Okay, I just want to create a small thing here. So I'm creating a table with ID, name, age, address, and the salary. Okay. So I'm creating some table with something called a customers Asia. Okay. So this is my table, which I would just want to create basically. So it was created. So I just want to see what was there inside the particular table. So select star from customer Asia. Okay. So basically I just want to see what is the schema inside that particular thing. So I have something like a ID, name, age, address, and salary. So basically I just want to write a small command to just insert some data into it. Okay, so execute. Okay, so we have a different table, so it should be executed in that particular way. So we have executed, one row was affected, and I just want to execute this particular data. So what we can see under the ID, we have something like number one, name, age, address, and the salary, right? So now basically let's say that I want to export this data into some Excel. So this is a small data. Let's try to start from very much scratch. Okay, this is a small data. I just want to get this data updated into some other application, or else like if you want to write more data into that, we can also just go with some insert command here, which will be there, and we'll try to update more data to just have some other set of data here. Okay. So I'll insert more set of data to just have a clarity on the things. Okay. So I'll update more data here. So manually I was just trying to do this data. How we'll see how we can do it from the UiPath. Okay. So I'm just executing the query. So some rows was affected, and I was executing this command to just see like 6 rows of data was there now. Okay. So now I want to just export this data, 6 rows of data, into some Excel. Okay. Fine. So now I'll be opening the UiPath. So in order to work with the database, we need to install the packages. So I already installed the package. So it is something like UiPath.database.activities. So you need to make sure that this particular database activities was installed in your UiPath community studio. Okay. Fine. So if you go now and search for the activities, you will be seeing all the activities that was related to the database. The first and foremost action I just need to perform is I need to connect with a particular database. Okay. So I'll drop this connect command. So it will ask for the configuration. So configure the connection. So configuring connection is nothing but I'm trying to establish a connection between the UiPath with the particular database now. Okay. So connection wizard is like a Microsoft SQL server, because I'm trying to work with an SQL server. So you need to have the server name. So server name is, I have already the server name. So if you don't know where your server name will be there, so this is your server name. Okay. So this is your server name. You can just go and click on properties, and you'll be getting your server name. Okay. This is your server name. Okay. So once the server name was given, automatically it will try to update something that was related to the database names. So I might be having a different, under the server, I might be having a different databases. So here I have created a database for our practice session, which is something called RPA. Okay. So I'll try to connect with that RPA database. So here we need to click on test connection. If the connection was succeeded, it is nothing but you made a successful connection with the UiPath from the SQL server. Okay. So you can just click on OK, or I'm trying to repeat again. So you need to select the data source. It's nothing but SQL server. So we need to provide the server name. So once you provide the server name, automatically it will try to update the database names. You can select whatever the database name you want to connect. So test connection will try to make sure that we are connected successfully with the particular database. Okay, so it was connected. That was my foremost action, right? So once it was connected, I want to make sure that so the DB connect was done. Okay, the successful connection can be seen under the variable called output of DB connect here. Okay, so fine. So I've connected now. So what I need to do, I need to read some data from the particular database, right? In order to read, I need to execute a query. So in order to execute a query, I need to write a basic query here. So what is the basic query I was trying to read do here? The same thing. So select query will try to give me the outcome of the particular data table. Sorry, database table. Okay. The same command I'll be using here. Okay. So what is the query? The same query I'll be using. So select star from the customer ratio table. Okay. So click. So it says that you want to connect again, or do you have an existing connection? Yes, I do already have an existing connection, which is nothing but DB connect, which is an output of the connect command here. So this is the output we are trying to pass it here, right? It states that already I have connected, and this is the same connection I am trying to use here. Okay. So once you connect, so basically after executing, you will be getting this data as an output, which is nothing but the rows and columns. So once you have a data in rows and columns, it is nothing but it was the data table. Your outcome was there in terms of the data table. Fine. Now I have my data in the data table. I want to see that particular data, right? How can you see that particular data? So basically you can convert that into a string variable using output data table. But to have a good overview, what I'll do, I'll use write range to write that output into an Excel. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll take a new Excel. I'll delete the existing Excel. Okay. I'll take a new Excel, which is nothing but the database XLSX. So I'll say like DB data. So what is your outcome? Which is nothing but the DD1. You want to add the headers also, because like that ID, age, and all these things will be there. Okay. So it's a best practice. After connecting with a particular database, it was a best practice to use a disconnect. Okay. So disconnect will try to disconnect from the DB connect. So basically our intention was to just read the data and write it into an Excel. Nothing but we are trying to export the data from an database to an Excel. So why do we need this particular set of actions? Because like when you're trying to like process something in a higher level transactions and all, your input might be there in terms of an Excel. It might be there in terms of a PDF. It might be there in terms of even a CSV file, and also even in terms of the database table. Okay, it's a best practice that we should also be aware how to export your data and how to import your data into the particular database too. Okay, so we can take the data from Excel and the data we can store in database using UiPath. Yes, we can do that. Is DB connect a connection variable here? Yes, it is a connection variable that was utilized. So we have to install in manage packages. Yes, we need to install in order to get the activities. If you try to directly search for the connect or disconnect or whatever the things it will be not available for us. You need to install those things. Okay, fine. So let's try to basically run this thing from the UiPath. Okay, so this was my thing: connect, get your data, write it into Excel, and disconnect from the database. Fine, it was done. It will automatically create a particular thing at the desktop with a file called database. Okay, so this is the file. So let me just open the file here. So we have the data here, right? So we have ID, name, age, address, salary, and this is the data. So now let us say that I have some data in an Excel and I want to import that particular data into a database. How can I do that? Okay, so let me just create some data. So I will say like Kiran 1. So my age is like 22. So maybe I'm from Hyderabad. So I'll have a data. So I'll just create a 2 rows of data to just update these values. So Kiran 2. Okay. So let me just delete this particular data. Okay. So and now let's try to update this particular data. So this is a small set of data. What I want to do, I'm having now these particular data which was there in an Excel, and that needs to be updated in this particular database. If you execute this particular, if you want to update the values, so basically what you need to do, you need to use some commands called insert, all these things, right? But I have a command which says that you can directly upload the data from an, what I can say, like Excel to the database. Okay, so let's try to basically understand these particular things. Okay, so I'll have a connect command here. So what I'll do, I'll just keep this comments aside, which is null for us. So we have executed a query, right? Now let's see that I want to execute a non-query. Basically, I want to like read some data and update that things, right? So I'll use like execute non-query. So execute non-query will help you to use some commands or some queries that was related to insert, update, and delete. Okay. So fine. So what you want to update here? So let's say that I want to update some data here. So I want to edit a query. Say basically, so this is the data I want to update. Okay. So this is not the table. So our table is like customer Asia. I want to update in the customer Asia with a value called 7. Okay, the name is like Sai. Okay, it's not. I'll say like I'm from Chennai. So I have some salary here. Okay, so this is the command. Again, we need to provide that DB connect. Okay, so once it was updated, I want to disconnect. So basically earlier we have only 6 rows of data, right? So executing this particular non-query, which will try to help us in inserting some values. So it was updated, right? Now if I execute, I will have like 7 rows of data here. Okay, earlier I have like 6 rows of data, but I can have like 7 rows of data. So whatever command whatever query I was writing here, I can also execute here using the execute non-query command also. So let's say that I have like 10,000, I'm like 1,000 rows of data. So if you want to update, so you want to loop it, right? So I don't want to loop it inside this particular table and all these things. I want to directly update the values. So that is the reason why we have a command called insert. Okay, so let's try to understand what is the purpose of using the insert. So my duty was to what? Read this particular data, connect with a particular database, okay, and insert the values and disconnect from there, right? So that is my duty. So I've already connected with a particular database. In order to read the particular Excel, what is the command or the activity I'll be using? It is like read range. So read range will be utilized to read the value from here. So where is your data? My data was there in this particular database Excel. Okay. So you are having your data in the sheet called DB data. So you just need to provide the double quotes in order to read all your data. Okay. And your data will be there in Control K DT2. So now my data was there in the DT2. It was there in terms of the data table, right? So what I'll be using now, I'll be using a command called insert. So insert okay. So I'll be using an insert command. Okay. So if you just go to the properties here, I have already a connection, which is nothing but the DB connect. Okay. What is your table? Data table. My data was there in table called DT2. And where you want to update. So this is the table I want to update. It is nothing but the customer ratio. Okay. So you can see the disconnect here. If you execute the query here, so nothing but select star from customer Asia. Okay, you'll have only 7 rows of data. But now I am trying to read the data from this particular table. So maybe I'm just keeping some 100 data. Okay. So I'm just closing this Excel and trying to execute the query. Run file. So now you're trying to insert some data into it. So it was successfully done. And you want to see what is a set of records. Earlier it was only 7 records, right? But now if you see, I have also updated the data which was there in an Excel to the particular database too. If you see, this was the number of records that was affected. And you can see earlier only 7 rows, but now you can see like 27 rows of data was there in the particular database table. Okay. So basically we have seen till now how to connect with a particular database, how to export the data using an execute query, how to insert some values using execute non-query singly. I'm like, let's say that you want to update each row by row you want to do, you can use an execute non-query. But if you want to update in a bulk wise, you can try to go with something called insert. If we have more bulk data, let's say that I was trying to update only like 100 rows of data. So, but you want to update something around like 10,000 rows of data, you can still go with like bulk insert. Bulk insert will try to upload your data into a particular database in a bulk manner. Okay, so I have 20,000 rows of data. I need to process that data with some validation. So which is the best way to do? I need to store the data into database, or I need to process the data from Excel itself. Which is the best way to process the data for reducing the time? So I can say database is the faster way. So if you want to see the fastest method, like you can say like database is the fastest method, and second fastest method is something like using the workbook based activities, and the third one is an Excel based activities. Okay, fine. So this is how you can try to execute your queries and execute your non-queries. Okay, fine. So anything else? Okay. So now let's try to understand like how also we can write some other like queries inside your execute non-query. So execute non-query will try to update, insert, and delete also, right? So how to perform those set of actions? You can see that. So if you want to see here the set of data that was there, you can after that need to see the query, right? Again, So we have already execute query. After updating, let's say that I want to see the values of the table. Okay. After executing the query, so your data will be there in terms of data table. So how can I convert a data table to a string variable? We have an activity called output data table, right? So what is the data table? So dt1 is the data table, and you want to convert that into a str dt. So once your data was there, you can try to see that in the message box. For sample purpose, we are just trying to see. So you don't want to go back again to database to see if the number of rows was there, how much was there, all these things. So str dt1. So let's say that I have a new more set of data here. So I'll try to get some more data. Okay. So I want to again update some data here. So this is the set of data I want to update. Okay. So these are the rows of data I want to just update again. Okay, let's try to see that without going back to the database. Okay, if you see after executing the query, after inserting, you can see the number of rows got affected, right? So rows updated, or like you can see like rows insert. So you can see the type of rows got inserted. It's like integer. You can see like how many rows got inserted there. You can use another message box after inserting to see how many rows got affected. So what is that? It is rows dot string. Okay, fine. So let me just, I'm like without going there and trying to see. So I'm just trying to update here itself. Okay, so it says that like 17 rows got updated, and this is the data which can be seen of all the rows here. So this is the data which was getting updated after like 26, 28, 29, 30. All these rows of data was updated here. Okay, I'm like instead of going here trying to see execute query, see all this data was there or not, 44 rows of data was there or not. So all this thing can be avoided for us by just seeing everything here inside your particular what call UiPath itself. So insert, okay. Somebody was asking some questions. Let's try to answer those also. So DB filter is the easiest and tends to use less memory as well. Okay, yeah, that's correct. The storing in DT table would be better because if you hit this queries, okay. So using bulk insert, you can add DT to DB. Yes, you can do the same thing. But what is the difference? So difference is nothing but if you have a huge set of data, so that will be much faster. Okay. So may the difference between insert and execute non-query. So execute non-query, we can execute n number of queries inside the particular thing, like insert, update, delete, and all. But insert will help you to insert your data from a data table to the database. If in case header of B column is missing by mistake in Excel, it can't do. It shows an error. We need to map both the DB as well as the particular what we call the database schema in a particular manner itself. If that was not the scenario, we cannot update the values. So let's say that I want to delete some header. So, and let's see if we are able to update the values. We cannot do that. It says that invalid column name column. Okay. So it should be of same schema. What are the things you are trying to update here? It should be following the same schema. It should be definitely the age itself. That particular scenarios only you can try to update the values. Okay. If you just go to the insert here and bulk insert. So bulk insert is something like it will update a table using the bulk operations using a specific database driver implementations. So it is something like it will try to use the inside like implementation of the database drivers. Okay, that is the difference.
Hey, hi, Sai. Sai, someone is actually asking if you can repeat bulk insert.
Bulk insert, yeah. So bulk insert is basically like insert and the bulk insert operations does the same thing. It's nothing but you can insert the particular DB data, like data table data into your particular database. So the only difference is nothing but like while you're trying to use the bulk insert, so bulk insert will try to use the database driver implementations. So it is much faster when compared to the like insert command and all. Okay. You can insert n number of rows. Okay, there is no sort of a limitation. It takes a huge amount of time. That's it, nothing more than that. Yeah. Okay, so let's also see some other set of commands that was related to like how you can update and how you can delete some other things in a minor way. Okay, so let's say that, so this is the command I want to use, like update customers. So in order to do that, first of all I need to connect. It's already been there, so I'll remove all this set of data. Okay, so for now I'm just keeping this data aside. Okay, so it was connected. After connecting, what do you want to do? I want to execute a non-query again. Okay. So what is a query I want to use? I want to just update the values. So already we had a connection. It's nothing but the DB connect. So we need to edit the query. For ID 6, I just want to update the value. So the day it's like customer's issue. So that was the table name. Okay, so we have a table here. So we have a table here. So address is empty, but I want to update that particular address if the ID is 6 to Pune. Okay, that is my set of action I want to perform. So affected records will be only one. So we can use the same rows affected, rows inserted, other things because it's an insert. Okay. So after which I can say I'll use the disconnect command. Okay, so it's connecting. I was just trying to update some value and disconnect the value. So it was updated. If I just execute the query here, it was earlier ID6 was having a value called MP, right? So execute the command. You can see the value was updated with Pune. Okay. The similar way we can also use other set of commands. I'll just show you like how to use a delete query also. So the same set of command can be utilized inside your execute non query itself. So what I want to do here, I want to delete where address is Hyderabad. Wherever the address is Hyderabad, I want to just delete it. Okay. Delete from customers Asia is the table where a address is equal to Hyderabad. But let me just see. Right. End of expression needed. It should be in a double quotes. Should be single quote. Okay. So let's see the things. So execute the query here. So we have how many rows? 44 rows of data. So now execute this thing. So it was done. Now if I execute this particular command, you can see the data with address Hyderabad is all deleted, right? So in such a way, you can try to what? Insert, update, and delete. Okay. So I think we have seen database. Let's go to database. We have seen like connect, disconnect, execute non-query, execute query, and insert, right? So set start transaction is nothing but it's a what I can say. I'll tell you. It's a container-based activity. So how you use like Excel workbook actions and all. So it's the same. The same thing like how you use the open Excel work Excel actions and all. You can try to do in these things. I was just forgetting that Excel command. Excel application scope here. So how to use this Excel application scope? Under the Excel application scope, you can use a number of commands like read, write, and how. The same thing happens here. If you want to start a transaction, it will be connected. And under this particular connect command, you can try to use all the things. Okay. That is what happens in inside the start transaction. So let's try to basically understand what is this bulk update, which is very much new to everyone. Okay. So let's see the queries. Can we use other commands other than updating? Yes, we can use. What are the commands you can use joins, you can use drop. What are the commands we can try to write it. So downloading SQL and all, it will take much time, Bhargav. Okay. So I have showed you how to make the SQL connections and all, right? So connect command will help you to make a connection. So under the connection wizard, I have shown you how to connect with the SQL server. how to get the server name, how to connect with the particular database name, and all these things. Right. So that is basically how you connect with the particular database. Okay. So now let's try to see that was related to bulk update. So what is this bulk update does? Okay. So basically I'll try to create a small data table here. So for a understanding purpose. So how to create a data table? I'll use like build data table. So data table. So I'll just create some what we call two columns basically. I'll say like name. Okay. I just want to update the address. Okay. Under the name we have here in the commands what I have here. So it's a small table, right? I have values like Sai and I have values like Hardik, right? So let's try to update the values of this particular address. If so, earlier we have seen a single command of updating the values, right? But I want to update in a bulk manner, that too from a data table directly to the database. So how can I do that? Okay. So I have value called Sai. I want to update his address to Hyderabad. Okay. And also I have other name called Hardik. So he's not Hardik Pandya. So Hardik, and I want to update his address to Chennai. So these were the two values I want to update. That's like you can add a number of values. That's not an issue. Okay, let's say that I have a value called Ramesh. And I want to update his value to some other thing like Bangalore. Okay. So now we have our data in terms of what? A data table, right? So let's create a data table called dt bulk update. Okay. So fine. I had made a connection. With the build data table. After which, what I want to use? I want to use a command called bulk update. So I'll take the bulk update. Okay. Under this existing connection, I have like db connect. What is the data table? I have the values in db. What is this? Right. dt, it was under dt. Okay. So have in the dt bulk update. What is the table name? So this is the table name I want to update, right? Here I want to update. Okay. So let us see how many records got updated. Rows updated. Affected records. And 64. Okay. So still it was showing error for us. Column names, yes. So based on one key, I'm like there is one primary key which was helping us to update the other values. So what is the primary key? So it was something called as name. Okay. So we can try to update in terms of name. So that need to be provided here in terms of name. Okay. So now I'll see the message box. See like records updated. Yes. Affected records dot string. Okay. So that was my intention here. Fine. So let's try to go there again and see where the rows got updated and all these things. Okay. So let me just run the file. So it says like 3 records got updated. Fine. So because like we have updated like 3 records. Okay. So let's see, go into this UiPath database and let's try to execute this particular query. So it says that like Ramesh was updated with Bangalore. So Sai was updated with Hyderabad and Hardik was updated with Chennai. Right. So bulk update will help you to update your values in a bulk manner. So based on one primary key. So what is your primary key? Your primary key was basically your name. Okay. So you can also update the age also. Let's say that I want to update even the age. So create another like age. Okay. So I'll update the values like everything with 20 as of now. Okay. Okay. I'll also change the values with some other thing like Pune. Okay. So all the values are updated with Pune itself. Okay. So we can also update these things. Okay. Don't pass the column data types. Okay, fine. So it was saying that the column data types is not fine because like it is an integer. Age is an integer. Fine. It's not that like wherever the position it is, like it will still support. So, but if we want to still go with the values, we can go. Okay. Fine. So let me try to run back again. So we are trying to now update not only the address, we are trying to update even the age also. So for Ramesh, it will be 20, it will be Pune. For Hardik, it will be 20, it will be Pune. For Sai, it will be 20, it will be Pune after execution of the bot. Okay. So if we update now, it was not updated, right? Let's try to execute again the bot and let's try to see that. So it has updated like 3 records. And I can say, so those 3 records, again, if you want to execute that particular query, so you can see that Ramesh was updated with age 20, address Pune. Hardik was updated with age 20, address Pune. And Sai is also updated with age 20 and address with Pune. Okay. So in this particular way, we can try to use something that was related to the bulk update. Okay. So using a primary key. Okay. So this is the major agenda for today's session basically. So go at a very what I can say basic level of how to use the database activities. Okay, so we have seen how to connect, basically how to connect within a SQL server by providing all these connection settings and all these things. So disconnect, we can easily disconnect by providing the output of the connect here. So execute non-query will try to use basic commands like update, insert, delete and all, right? So execute non-query. Execute query will try to basically help you to execute a select command, insert to directly like insert your values from a data table to the database table. Okay. So start transaction, I can say it is container-based activity, like how it works with the Excel application scope. The same thing can be utilized here using the start transaction. Bulk insert, the difference is it utilizes the specific database driver implementations while you're trying to update a huge set of data. Okay, so bulk update, we can update from a data table to an existing table that was available in the available in the particular database table, I can say. So in the multiple ways and all. It's not that I was trying to update only a single column here. I can update multiple column values using a primary key here. So I can say, so this was the basic set of commands you can utilize in terms of database. Okay, and primarily I can say, like, before using this set of activities, it is a mandatory that you need to install the database activities. So this is the package. So you can go with like latest packages, or you can go with the 1.5.0. I have utilized the 1.5.0. Okay, so you can see. So execute non-query will help you to execute SQL statements on a database for update, insert, and delete. Okay, it returns you what were the number of records that was affected. So execute query will basically help you to get some data from a particular database in terms of select commands and all, where it will give you result in terms of the data type. Okay, fine. Any set of doubts, if you have, you can post here so that we can discuss on the same. I'm like, it's a huge I'm like, in the enterprise level we can try to go with n number of commands here. You can use joins, you can use all the
Sai, you just went on mute.
one minute, let me just see the commands. I'm like, I'll be using these comments whenever it was required based on the project requirements and all. That was the reason why I was just searching for the commands and all, or the queries. But how I was showing you, like, you can just try to use those comments. That is what I can say. Primary key is also specified in the detail activity. It was specified in terms of the column names, you can see here. So in terms of bulk update, so there is something called column names. So this is the key, primary key, which will help us update the things. Okay. So in the latest package, you can see the execute query was changed to run command and all. If you update the package, there was a similar name changes, I can say, minor name changes. So if I just update, so connect was seen in terms of like connect database, disconnect was seen in terms of disconnect database and all these things. If you just hover on the particular activity, you can see what type of action you can perform on the particular activity there. Can you please share other commands which are helpful to, like, remove duplicates? Remove duplicates and all after getting your data, you can just use a simple command, data table command, remove duplicate. Select any particular data. Yes, after getting your data, you can just write some filter data table commands and all. Already you might have seen something in the data table activities and all. So I have just updated my activities here in terms of the database. If I just go and see the activities here, database. Okay. So it says like connect to database. So disconnect to database. Okay. So run query is something like execute query. Run command is nothing but execute non-query. So insert remains the same, bulk insert remains the same, and bulk update remains the same. Minor changes, but more or less does the same actions. Okay. So there are modern or classic activities for the database. I can say, though in modern or classic, the activities remains the same for the database. You can see different set of activities in terms of Excel, UI based activities and all these things. Yes, that's correct. Can you please tell why we use SQL in UiPath? We can use any sort of a database. It's not that we try to use only SQL. It can be utilized. You can also use like DB Access. You can also use Oracle database and all these things. Only difference you can see here. So you need to just change your configuration connections in the connection wizard. So my data source is like SQL server. Okay. If it is a different sort of Oracle database or else like ODBC driver database and all these things, you need to select appropriate things from this particular drop down. Any API SP activities for DB you can do. As of now, I'm like the integrations was there, but as of now, this was the set of activities we can do. Store procedures you can do inside your start what I can say under your transactions, start transaction. So store procedure is nothing but writing your set of commands, right? That can be written here under your start transaction, and you can perform whatever the set of commands, set of SQL queries you want to execute. If you use MySQL, what is the data source I have to use? It's already shown, but I want to repeat again. So if you're trying to use MySQL, you can go with SQL Server. Automatically, it will select the data provider. So just go with an SQL Server. You need to provide the server name. So server name is something you can see at the top here. Okay, or just like go to properties, and you can just get the properties from here, the name. Okay, so once that particular properties was provided here, and you can just get the things done. Somewhere I missed this. Okay. In your experience, is what to use bulk insert for inserting 800 rows, or should we call a Python script? So basically, you can use like you can use a bulk insert. You can call Python script. You can call VB script. You can call whatever the script you want here. So basically, we are trying to minimize the like code here, right? So I can say like UiPath or whatever the RPA tools we have here will majorly target on the low code technologies. It's like low code tools and all, right? So I wanted to write the script. I can say you can directly use the bulk inserts and all these things. If we are not able to have this in terms of activities, we need to obviously go with some sort of scripting, or it's like some sort of code needs to be invoked and all. In that particular scenarios, just go with the things. Otherwise, I can say like activities that we have that we can see inside the UiPath is much faster. Okay. Fine. Any other questions? Please let us know so that we can just try to answer your questions. I think mostly we have covered the scenarios. I'm like, what are the activities that was there inside your database package? Rohit, you want to speak anything? You can just go ahead and speak.
I was saying that people can also unmute themselves and ask the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Any question, guys? Please feel free to unmute yourself.
Hope I feel that like we have a basic understanding on these things.
Yeah, we have a question. Sorry.
So yeah, we can write those things, like you can just call a store procedure, or you can just try to execute that particular things answer inside your execute non-query. Can we work with many sources at the time, right? Yes, we can work. So how do you write similar way? Store procedure is nothing but a combination of some set of queries, right? So that sort of queries can be written inside your execute non-query, and you can just call that. Yeah, we can connect to SAP and RDB also. See the list of database supported by UiPath bot. So I think that needs to be talked inside the infra team. So infra team will help you to do that. Yeah, yeah, Michael, it was execute non-query. Yeah.
Hi, so how can I get just a follow-up question? So, which infra team we can access? Is any public email ID we have from UiPath site?
No, internally we'll have the infra team, right? So let's say that I want to connect with a particular database. They'll give me some connection strings, some SQL connection, authentications, and all these things, right? So those
You are
people.
saying from our side, the basis team basically in the infra team of SAP, right? To get the credentials and all.
Yes. So basically this is just a sample, like how to connect and all these things, but in real time nobody will give you an access directly to a server and try to play with the data that was there inside your particular database, and all. Because like the data which we have inside your database is very much might be like very much important data, so which might be utilized across multiple teams and all. So they'll take care of all the necessary actions before providing you the access.
Got it.
So
yeah,
maybe if that is not if they are not able to provide the actual DB, they'll just try to have an image of that particular thing, and we'll try to just work on these things, and finally they'll try to upgrade the patches.
Yeah, probably something like test environment kind of thing.
Yes, the test environment.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Sai.
So I've just shown you on the very small set of data, but in real time you'll be having, I can say, like more number of rows and columns of data.
Thank you, Kiran, for today's wonderful and useful session today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Kiran, this is Sartha again, and you can do stored procedure in set transaction also, right?
Yeah, starts. You can also execute inside your start transaction also. So basically, start transaction acts as a container, okay, where you can just execute all the things.
Okay, thank you, Kiran.
Is it possible after reading an Excel into one data table and using for each loop, change the column value and replace that column in same data table? May I know which activity? You can do that. Is it possible after reading an Excel? Okay, we can read an Excel into one data table. Yeah, we can store that into that table, and using for each loop, change the column value. Yeah, we can update the values and replace that column in same data. We can do that. Yeah. So you just need to provide an assign value. So assign will help you to just do that. After reading your data table, maybe something like you'll have a value inside your data table you'll use for each row. So current row of like 3 will give you an update on the particular column 4 value. Yes, somebody's asking some question. So now we are learning this in a like what I can say at a conceptual level. Like before sessions, we have learned something on the Excel. Before that, we have seen something on the PDF, on all these things, right? So each concepts will help you in working with a large set of projects at the end, at the enterprise levels and all. So at the enterprise levels, you might be initially might be reading the data from an Excel. So try to update some values into a database, try to interact with a particular web-based applications. So you need to do some set of actions there. Okay. So come back with the data, you need to update or create some PDF or Word documents, email something. So I can say like whatever we are learning on this Kickstart developer sessions and all these things. Okay. So it will definitely help you at a bigger picture at the end. Okay.
Yep. Any other questions, or else we can wrap up? Before wrapping up, I'll just share the links for the session, one that is happening tomorrow, and also the next one that is happening on Monday, that is day 11. So here are the links. Please make sure that you register for the one. So tomorrow's Fundamental Connect is an optional one. Please do join if you have any questions. If you don't, I would still recommend you to join. And you definitely should join. Please do join, register for the 11th day session. Tomorrow's timings will be 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. There won't be any agenda for the session tomorrow, so it will be pretty much depending on the participants' questions and the answers. So it's a free-flowing session there. But please do make sure that everyone registers for day 11. Please make sure that you also try and use some time during the weekend, if possible, to just catch up on the activities of the sessions that have happened so far. I understand that it's 10 days back to back, and we still have 5 more days to go. After this, it is very quite a lot to take. So please try and process some of it over the weekend, so that the next week's sessions won't be very overwhelming for you, and you will be able to stay in track. Yeah, we have a question inside.
Where is it? Okay. So can I have the link where to download my SQL directly? I could not download it with the previous link. Okay. I just need to search with a particular thing, because like I have installed it in like 3-4 years back in my system. Yeah, you can just Google it, and Microsoft will directly provide that particular links to install. And other things, try catch and exception handler, that will help you to make sure the bot was running in a exceptional scenarios due to some exceptions that was related to a system or business related ones and all. So it's not that the happy flow path is being taken care while you're trying to develop the particular bots and all. In order to overcome some situations, unforeseen things like something like network was not working, or else like application was not getting interacted, or else like due to some sort of business rule, you're not able to continue with the next step of action. So those things will be taken care by the dry cache blocks.
Do we have any more questions? I think we can close the session.
Sorry, Rohit, we lost your voice.
I was just saying that if there aren't any more questions, we can probably close the session.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining. Looking forward to see you definitely on Monday. Hope to see you tomorrow as well. Thank you so much, Sai Kiran, for sharing all the knowledge. Shubham, Manoj, are you there? We can go on video. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Have a good night and have a good weekend.
Yep. Thanks everyone. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, guys. Bye. Thank you.
Hope everybody has liked the session. Maybe it was on the very basic level, but since like we are trying to like concentrate more on the scratch level.
Yep.
Thanks, Sangeeta.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks, Rohit. Bye.